So Ben Brown's up again here. He's going to try to make another run. Hopefully he's got her dialed in. Once again, this is Ben Brown here riding the 450 Yamaha. They're working a lot better now. Doing this all just for nice.
So alright gang, here we are. Have Ben Brown here at the table to talk a little bit about his background with adaptive sports. He's a multi-sport athlete, wheelchair basketball, track, and paddling. Didn't say rowing this time. Paddling. There's a difference. He'll tell you the difference. Yeah. So Ben, let's take it away, man.
I know I got injured at 16, just so literally 16 years and a week plus ago. Like I was training for an ATV motocross race, just feeling out of track, like not even going fast. So when I'm not in the mood to talk about it, and I say I wasn't going fast enough,
yeah,
then people
racers are most like that, eh?
People are like that. And people are like, what? And I was telling them, like, I literally was feeling out the track and I didn't hit the throttle hard enough and came up short on a jump, got thrown over the bars and the ATV lawn darted on me, and I was never knocked out until while I'm waiting for the ambulance to show up half an hour into the wait is when I could not feel my legs, and I was like, oh crap, this is not a good scene. And come to find out I was going to be, not using my legs for the rest of my life, and paralyzed chest down at T5 level. And
so that's around where?
Like right here, right at the chest.
Okay, right there, yeah.
So I have no six-pack no matter how hard I try. Yeah, no, and the crazy thing was, mind you, I was on a, as you know, when you got yourself paralyzed, like, you're on a boatload of drugs at first to numb the pain. Yeah. So I wasn't comprehending this, and I'm like, so when I'm going to walk, when I'm going to race, and the doctor said, how would you do wheelchair racing? And I gave him some choice words. Funny enough, I took up wheelchair racing 3 years later. So 10 months after my accident, I got back on an ATV, started riding them again. Like we were planning to build a motocross track in the backyard anyways on the farm, but we pushed it then because we knew at the time it would be difficult to get access to tracks. Just track owners would be a little nervous about a guy who paralyzed himself wanting to get back on the track. And the next year I started racing ATVs full on again. During that time is when I was in rehab, I met Anthony Purcell and at a expo or wheelchair expo or a disabilities expo, and he told me about I knew wheelchair basketball existed and I knew about sledge hockey, but I didn't know about the other para sports. And he asked me about wheelchair, if I'd be interested in coming out wheelchair basketball. He shot me an email 2 months later about the fact that Halifax won the Canada Games bid, and that Team Nova Scotia, they were going to put in a wheelchair basketball team. And I'm like, are you interested? I'm like, of course. Like
natural competitor like
that. No, I was never. This is the crazy thing. It took me to get paralyzed to get actually competitive in sport and become an elite athlete. That's like the crazy thing, because and there's nothing wrong with house hockey and recreational softball, because that's what I did, and I wasn't really good at track. But that's what kind of skill level I was at. I always have a laugh about it. It took, to make my first provincial team, I had to acquire a disability. Like it boggles my mind, just like that I went from being a kid that was just trying to be fit and healthy, even though my diet was horrible, like most teenagers. It took to get injured to slowly change things around. So I started wheelchair basketball in 2007. To me, it wasn't the fact it was a sport. It was the one sport available as a paraplegic at the time in Nova Scotia. But I watched Anthony. I went out and watched his team play in 2007 at Adckc University against the varsity athletes, and watched someone get flipped over, and because I was an ex-hockey player, that just like, I get to flip people in wheelchairs. There's contact, all right.
It's basketball, but yet there's still contact in it, yeah.
And that's what attracted me at first. And now, I'm a class 1 in basketball, and what I liked about being a class 1 was the contact, because that's kind of your main role. This is a big thing. I know not everyone wants to go to the Paralympics like myself, or like you have, or want to potentially again.
Never have, for the record. Got cut twice. Anyways, go ahead.
Might have to do that.
It's a different show.
Yeah.
No.
We'll have to do that maybe with Paracanoe, I think. But
Recruit, that's what you're doing.
yeah.
Okay.
But the thing is, because of sport, I know when I got to use the can, and I know when I got to pee now. And that's the one thing I always want. I always try to get people into para sport. It's not so much, again, for the Paralympic. I've just been always ever since I was a little kid, I wanted to play in the, like Canadian kids play in the NHL, win the Stanley Cup. Or,
Yeah.
you know, in my case with the ATVs was I wanted to be an ATV motocross champ, like at the professional level, right?
Yeah,
that never happened, and you know, it is what it is. But I found, like I was saying, with parasport, it's allowed me to gain functions back that I think if I just went to the gym and that was it, but didn't do sport, didn't train heavily, not even so much train heavily, it's just like just train and just do those things, I don't think I would have gained the sensation I know when I got to go to the bathroom or be able to hold it if I I don't try to hold it because that's a bad thing to do, but it does happen.
All right, cool. Okay, so I know when you're talking about when you had your accident on the track, quad accident, you said you get lawn darted by the four-wheeler.
Yeah, like it literally landed right on my.
So you're laying here. You're on your stomach or back or.
Well, so I got thrown over the handlebars.
Yeah, over the handlebars.
And usually when this kind of crash happens, dirt bike, ATV, snowmobile, like the machine will go one way, you go the other. It's rare that you go in the same path. And the only thing I'm ever hazy about, because I was never knocked out, no concussion. Don't ask how that didn't happen, right?
Yeah.
It was either the second or third flip. The machine flipped 6 times total, and the second or third flip, it landed right here on my on my scapula.
Yeah.
So and when that landed, it broke that, and chain reaction crushed my T5 and T6, broke ribs, and then it took half an hour into the hour-long wait, like I said, for me to not feel my legs.
So you were in the accident. You knew very well that you were in some serious trouble.
I was
throughout that half-hour wait. You could feel your legs going numb.
No, it
automatically
was
numb.
It just like I said, I was never knocked out, but I was in a state of shock.
Yeah.
And I touched my neck once I was out, just to make sure my neck wasn't broken. I was like, okay, yep. And I knew my back was broken, and I no racing for the rest of the year. I'll be back next year, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So I take my helmet off, and that's when the back pain just went full on.
Wow. Yeah.
And I rolled around. Now, mind you, the diagnosing doctor that said that night, even if I stayed still, the spinal cord still would have broke. Right. I rolled around because I'm trying to get the weight off my back, right? They brought ice, the whole bit. This track was brand new. That's what attracted me to it. And it was just half an hour later, it just went bang, numb. Like that's when the spinal cord 100% burst. And it's like, and the more I talk to people over the last 16 years about their injuries and stuff, spinal cord injury can either happen like right instantly, or it could take like hours, like while you're there, right? So it's weird and crazy and cool how the body all reacts to trauma and this and that. Like I said, and then I was supposed to be in the rehab system for 6 months. It took a week.
You went to Halifax? So
I went straight from Nova Scotia.
You're in Nova Scotia. This accident happened whereabouts?
Just outside of Windsor.
Windsor, Nova Scotia. Okay.
Like in the Westlands area.
So then you went to Halifax. So how long were you in Halifax Hospital for?
It was supposed to be half a year.
Yeah.
Between the surgery, where I was in the hospital system, like the hospital for about 10 days or so, because I think it was maybe 2 weeks, because I had to wait a week for the swelling to die down.
Yeah.
Now this is I've never been really bitter about my injury. Like I tell people all the time, I care less if I walk again.
Yeah.
I would just like to take a crap in about 20 minutes or less, like I can and be done in 20 minutes, so it's not like, and when I'm done, I'm done. I don't have to worry about.
Yeah, it's different for everybody too, right? But so now when the shock wore off, you're in the hospital, you got the final diagnosis that you're T5 complete. Doctor said to you, Ben, what do you say?
Well, I was in denial for about a week, right? And
is this before you knew you had a spinal cord injury?
Yeah, well, I knew I had a spinal cord injury, but I was in denial.
Yeah.
But also again, you're on a boatload of pain meds, and I was thinking the surgery to fuse my spine thing together was going to just make me, learn how to walk again, right? Not realizing this is, and then once I clued in, I was depressed for about 24 hours.
Yeah.
And I'm like, because all I cared about at that particular point, my family can tell you this, I just wanted to race my ATVs again. That's all I cared about. I don't care about anything else.
Yeah, well, it was your bread and butter, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the surgeon's like, oh, yes, you can. I'm like, no, I can only ride an automatic 4x4. That's not the same for me. And the next day he comes in with pictures of Ricky James on a dirt bike, with an adaptive dirt bike. and for that just made me from depressed that I didn't even want to live to like, all right, let's go. I get, you know, a week or so later, I get into rehab, and that's all I focused on, right? But the thing was, I was being a bit of a little baby, to be honest, about pain.
Your pain, what was it like? Was
just back and trying to move.
Was it like electric shock shooting through you all the time, or was this an ongoing aching?
Ongoing,
is it?
But like, excuse me, my physio, she said, Ben, you want to race your ATV again? Yep, I support that, but for you to do it, you're going to have to suck this up. You're going to have to suck this up in physio, you're going to have to suck it up in OT. And I'm like, okay. So the next day, I just came up with a whole new mindset.
Nice. Okay, so now you've got back on the quad since your spinal cord injury. You raced on the quad, and then you found wheelchair basketball through Anthony, right?
Yep.
So you spent 2007 to 2011 playing wheelchair basketball?
Yep. And I spent 2007 and 2011 still racing ATVs.
You're still racing? Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
still
like,
raced, yeah.
So I adapted it for my needs. So because I'm T5 complete, I had to strap both my legs and my feet down so I wouldn't fall off. I know that's
from ATV, four-wheeling, playing wheelchair basketball, and because I remember we were playing wheelchair basketball against you. I remember when you first came to the league. I mean, you were hard working. You know, like you pushed hard.
Yeah.
And like I said, this kid's gonna go someplace. He's gonna go places. You know.
And I ran, and I didn't mind ramming my chair at people.
You were a lower class that had that tenacity to compete. And like against the big guys too, like the able bodies, the higher classes, and I said this kid's gonna go places, and you stuck with it. But then 2011 came, and I stopped playing in 2017, I think, or maybe 15, somewhere between there, I don't know. And then I remember you kind of disappeared, and I was like, where'd Ben go? Where'd Ben go? And then so where the hell did you go?
Tracks are for trash. I love basketball first, but I was a hockey guy, and I'm a raceaholic, right? Just the fact, just my personality. But I found going into Canada games, I was losing my desire to play ball. I still at the time, and I during Canada games, I already had my mind made up that I was going to stick to track. It was more affordable for me. I was enjoying it more, and I was seeing my progression better. If that makes sense. Like,
yeah, 100%.
And I was sort of getting, thanks to my coach. Thanks to Yuli also being on the national team program, I was already getting like kind of I got introduced to the national scene right away. So then, but that was, like you said, I disappeared basically from the basketball scene. I mean, the good thing for social media was you knew what I was up to. I was doing track. Like, whereas some of the guys like that don't have social media were like, where the hell did Ben go?
Well, I was like that at first because I'm still thinking back in my mind, did he give up basketball for good? So I didn't know. Obviously he must have. He didn't come back the next season, the next, but you know, we were in touch before that. So he put how many years in the track, and then you did do another change of sport. You went from track to para-paddling, Paracanoe?
Yeah, Paracanoe.
So you went from, so now we're 2011, basketball is gone. 100% committed to the track.
Yeah, I did.
Right?
I was.
And you went from track in 2011 till when?
This past a year ago now.
A year ago. So you put a good, 10 years in, right?
I'd say it was a total of 12 I was in the sport, but as far as high performance level, I say around 2010 I started putting a commitment.
Yep.
2011 I started all in, and I'd say after London 2012 I devoted my life, and then after the 2013 Canada Summer Games, I took a gamble. I quit my part-time job. Partially I needed all in because, and this was the thing. 2013, like
for track.
Yeah. And I was rewarded with my first development card.
Nice.
The only thing was I never got to that senior card level.
And how long were you in the development card level?
7 out of the last 8 years of track. 7.
So there's I've watched it online. There's such high competition in that track. Like,
there's I was in the second
classes, right?
Yeah.
But we won't go into. I know there's a lot of classes in track.
So I was I'm a T53 in track. Okay. And it's the second deepest class in the world.
Okay.
So like
you get a lot of competitors, right?
And the thing is, I'm a 5-time national champion with the 100, or 2 in the 100, 2 in the 200, and 1 in the 4. And I've won medals in the 800 as well. The 1500 in wheelchair racing, Shane, is as prestigious as the running 100 meter.
Wow.
You want to see who the best wheelchair racers in the world are? You go watch the 1500, because the 1500 has more heats than, and like, so when we would go to Switzerland, which always attracted all the wheelchair, or majority of wheelchair racers around the world for track, there would be sometimes 7 heats for the 1500. And I was usually in the slowest or the second slowest heat for the 1500. That was real. And again, I got to race with the world. That was the thing too. Is like I got to race with the world's best. I got to race in front of 30,000 people.
That would be amazing.
It was. I'm not gonna lie. I had to check my pants after just to make sure I didn't crap, but because that was a little nerve-wracking until I got on the start line.
When you said, okay, track, did you say, hey, I'm not getting anywhere anymore, I reached my max potential, let's try paddling? How did you make that, what happened there?
So where I missed Rio in the 100 meter by 0.15 of a second.
Yeah. And
I missed Tokyo with the 4 and the 800 by 3 and 4 seconds respectively.
Yeah.
And the thing is, my personal bests for the 4 and the 800 would have got me to Rio.
Okay.
But that's how much our class skyrocketed up. Yeah. Skyrocketed up. And Yuli and I this was kind of crazy. We were about to have our annual meeting. We always have one at the end of the year, to talk about how the season went. What
advice did he give you?
What went right, what went right. And he said, Ben, actually, let's just talk about the 4 years. And as we're discussing this, he said, Ben, what do you want? What's your goal? Win a Paralympic medal. That's what I thought I wanted to hear. Yeah. But I don't think you're going to do it in wheelchair racing. And it just blew me.
After 12 years, right?
And he said, no.
7, 8 years of karting.
And,
wow. Yeah.
And he said, Ben, do you think you should be karting? I'm like, yeah, but he said, but I think I should be senior. He's like, well, Ben, you're not hitting the performances that are required. We're talking about. And he's like, you know what you need to do? And it blew me away. Paddling. So I've been doing paddling for over a year, and I'm going to tell you.
So you're involved for just over a year now, paddling.
Yeah.
From day one to now, it's just been a little over a year, and you've attended how many tournaments now?
Regattas.
Regattas, you call them? Or regattas?
Yeah, I know where he's still good, man. This year I did 2 national teams trials, one for World Cup, one for World Champs. I did Nova Scotia team trials, nationals trials, World Champs, Pan Ams, and just finished both national club championships and Can Masters yesterday.
And you're getting better and better at following.
Oh, 100%.
You're posting on Facebook and tracking, and you're getting better and better and better. So is this something you think that you will make the Paralympics with? Because when's the next Olympics for paddling?
Well, it is in 24, and I believe I'll make it, but it's not going to be for Paris because my class, we don't have enough athletes. Paddling, yes, I finished 4th at the Worlds this year. My first year. It's, and it's also a bit, I'm going to say it's crazy, but also at the same time because perfect timing. I'm in a class that's not deep as far as, I'm not talking skill level, I'm just talking quantity. Bodies wise.
Now that's just worldwide? You need to have, okay, not just here in the Maritimes that you need to get 10 people, but we're talking about worldwide. And for sure, if you guys are watching this, I'm going to leave some links below about how to contact your rowing and whatever. Paddle, isn't it rowing? Shit, I tried so hard to say rowing. Paddling. It's because I like to row. Paddling. So we'll get it linked up so you can look in your area or whatever. Ben, get you there. So come on. How many do you have right now in your heat?
We had 8 at Worlds. And in Canada, we only have 2. Myself and Miguel for VL1s.
But worldwide, there's 8?
For VL1.
For VL1. So you need, what, 2 more?
2 more.
Come on, people. For a person that's newly injured, who had an athletic background, or not even an athletic background.
But like sports.
Just like sports, and what would you say to them? What would you say to them?
I would say, this is my thing. You got to try different sports, but I understand, again, the cost and the commitment. If you want it, the thing is, I always wanted to be a pro athlete. I just didn't have the skill set before I got injured. And it took, ironically, getting a spinal cord injury to unleash that potential. And what I would suggest is figure out what sports you like. If you know the sport you like before the injury happened, see if that is obtainable with your mobility. And if it's not, that's okay. I never thought I'd ever be a paddler, to be honest. I watched kayak races at the Olympics for 2016 because of Marc de Jong, who just retired from Olympic paddling, and because we lifted in the gym together, and he was one of my Olympic heroes. But I would say just like find that sport, and it may be a completely different one that, like I said, for me it was both track and paddling are two different. Even wheelchair basketball was something I never did. Either in gym class, I never did basketball, right? So for me, the injury introduced me to sports I never thought about doing as a kid, right?
Yeah.
And always embrace that. And just remember, there are team sports, but there's also individual sports, and you have to figure out, you may have been a team sport guy before your injury, but it might be individual after injury, and you have to, and that's okay to recognize, and don't expect things to happen overnight. One reason why I've been so successful at paddling in a short year is I knew how to train as an elite athlete. I just had to learn a new skill set.
Yeah, that's some good advice, Ben. I appreciate you taking the time to do this interview. I think a lot of people are going to find benefit from what you said, and give another opportunity to show a sport that you can, adaptive sport that people can go to try out, right?
And
so, because I'm all about basketball, hockey, and cross country skiing, because I haven't tried paddling yet, right? I got it right and say rowing, but I'm sure you're pretty eager to see me get in the boat and give it a go.
And so is my coach Dave Waters. Dave
Yeah.
thinks you're gonna do. Dave, he feels like if you get into it, you're gonna be awesome at it.
Thanks again for taking the time to do this, and I'll leave all your contact information in the bottom. Do you have like an Instagram?
Yeah, Ben Brown _9, Ben _Brown 191, and my Facebook page is Ben Brown Paracanoe Kayak.
YouTube channel?
YouTube channel is Ben Brown, but there's other Ben Browns. So the best way to put it is like either Ben Brown Wheelchair Racer, Ben Brown Va Paddle, or Ben Brown
bench press
pull,
or bench pull, yeah.
or Ben
That's
Brown chin ups.
Yeah.
The thing is, and that's the other thing is, one thing I find bonus with the gym is, yes, I now train for the sport, but being in the gym is also made my mobility better for getting around in the day chair, getting in and out of bed, getting in and out of the car, and even when crap happens and I fall down, for the most part, it helps.
Yeah, and you can get back up.
Yeah.
And just get back up. All right, man, we are good.
Yeah.
All right.
Perfect.
Best of luck in all your journeys, and we'll be following you for sure.